Many people think that to be a Christian is to be a pushover. It is to be a person who is so passive that you might as well stick a sign on top of their heads that says, I'm a Christian, I am so passive that you might as well abuse me. Right? So view me as a target that you can abuse. And because our Lord insists on forgiving our enemies, forgiving without limit, that we can expose ourselves repeatedly to abuse. And in fact, some go further and put themselves in harm's way. And that is a complete erroneous view of the Christian life in which we are to live. We are not to present ourselves to others who are abusers, those who sin against us. We are not to make ourselves, to present ourselves to them repeatedly without any measure for our own safety or for that of our communities to their abuse. That there is a model of reconciliation that is presented here for pointing out the faults in somebody. And if that person, even when those faults have been established by other witnesses, and even when the church has overseen our dialogue, insists on being in the wrong, then listen to the words of our Lord. Treat him as you would a Gentile or a tax collector. And a Gentile and a tax collector in those days, the way that this teaching would have been heard and understood by you is you have nothing to do with them. You shun them. You put them outside of your community. Right? The principles of community, the principles of business, the principles of safety necessitate that. That it is possible to be so damaging to our communities, to our church. And I'm talking about two different things here. Of course, the church is a community, but we have also our own human communities, right? We live in a community within an individual household. We live in communities on our street, and we live in nations, which are collective communities. There is such a thing as causing such harm that one has to be put out of the community. And I encounter this, I would say, most often in two contexts. They most often happen within families who someone is an alcoholic. Either mom or dad is an alcoholic and is abusive of the others. And the gravest is usually when the man is an alcoholic and is physically abusive to his wife, to his children. And for the sake of the children, a woman will often move out and remove her children from the danger of that situation. But if it's just her by herself, so often a woman will say, well, the Lord calls me to forgive, and so I'm going to stay here. Well, yeah, the Lord calls you to forgive, but the Lord does not tell you to put yourself in front of abuse. Right? That's one. Secondly, the greatest pastoral care that you can do for your abuser is remove yourself as a target. Because as long as you're lending yourself as a target, he's going to keep sinning. So the decision you're making is increasing the sin for which he's going to be accountable. So the greatest pastoral care you can do for him is remove yourself from the situation. Right? The other context is parents when they have a child who is abusive, who is unable or refuses to look after himself or herself, blows through money, has terrible friends, has typically an addiction. And that addiction is going to prevent him or her from holding down a job for any length of time. And so they come to mom and dad with hand outstretched. Or even if they don't do that, they are in a terrible and destitute situation where they can't provide for themselves. And here come mom and dad with a wallet ready to bail them out. The worst thing that they can do is bail them out. If your child is in a situation like that, what you are doing in constantly coming to the aid of somebody who cannot be aided is you are increasing the sin for which that child of yours is going to be held responsible by God. because they are blowing through your income. They're blowing through the money that you've saved and you've acquired. The kind of help that they need is not a bailing out financially. That's not the help they need. And sometimes, and this can be a great moment of anguish, they might even need to be homeless for a while. They might even need to be in a place where the fruit of their action can really come to bite them in the rear end. And they can taste the fruit of their action. And they will never have that moment if you keep bailing them out. So our Lord here provides a model for the health of a community, that as members of a community, as a membership within a greater body, that which we call community, either at the level of a church, at the level of a family, at the level of a society or a group, that we need to live for the health not only of ourselves but for the community. And those who refuse to do that, he provides a model here by which they are to be removed for the good of both them and the community.